May the 13th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at a couple things that just happened today on the sun. The first one was a filament that was about 100,000 kilometers long. Look at this. Watch this thing. Releases from the top side, the bottom holes, throws it out into space, and when the remnants of that release are overcome by the gravity of the sun, it's pulled back to the surface. Watch. And you create a secondary flare called a hydro flare. It creates a large valley. Look at that. Just splits it wide open with the explosions as that energy returns. Now, this big sunspot area that we're really keeping an eye on for 2 weeks, guys, and it remained quiet. Can you believe it? One of the largest sunspots of the solar cycle so far, and it remained quiet. But just the last few minutes, we've had a next flare, next one. But if it had been closer, as far as back this way, the satellites between the sun and the earth would have picked up a stronger pulse. It did pick it up. We did have a radio blackout. Check this thing out. Now let me slow it down and watch that right side, guys. Watch this, right there. You can only see a very small section of how far this flare went out. And it would be technically a kill shot because it was very strong, very elongated out to the right there. We're going to take a look at it on another satellite. Now the frames come in just a little slower on what we call LASCO. This satellite's also Earth-facing perspective that's given us. But it shows us, I think, as we look at your timestamp, this goes back 4 days. The 10th, we'll get up into early morning this morning, and you'll see that filament released from the top, very powerful. We saw a lot of proton energy bursts from there, but it has not picked up that right side burst yet. And let's go to the GOES 19. Check this out. Look how long this thing came out. That's why I was so glad that it made it past that direct broadside area facing our planet, guys. For the last 2 weeks, it's just been hovering there like a nemesis. Anyway, it's to the right. Will it continue around the backside? We've seen it many times before. We still have some filaments left. But guys, again, we had that radio blackout, and I want to look at something on solar ham just a moment. Looking at the X-ray flux 1 minute data chart, you can see right now they're listing this as an X1.2. See that? Your X line is right there, so just barely bumped across it. Again, the satellite detected the edge of the blast, not the full frontal. That would have probably been an X2, maybe a little stronger than that. Now, the CME trackers so far have not modeled anything, even the last flare, that X1.2, and they will normally, and they will eventually, model it showing the direction of the blast, which looks like it's going to be off, again, to the right side, not directly Earth-facing. Again, when you have a solar flare and a CME involved, that light energy hits the Earth in 8.2 minutes, the speed of light. But the plasma energy in the cloud itself can take a couple of days to get here. Now, what you're looking at is going to be our next solar wind event coming in right here. Solar opening, they're calling it number 48 right there. And it's not as big as some we've seen, but as it turns more Earth-facing, we're going to see that steady stream of solar wind pickup, guys. And it's been going down and making it a little easier on us. We're about to come into some heat, though, so any of these coronal openings are going to add additional radiation into our atmosphere. And just like we're seeing in Texas, it's going to add on top of the heat that we normally see in the summertime. Now, CERN's been running in these pulses for the last several hours. Notice they're reaching 6799 gigaelectron volts, nearly 6,800. That's 6.8 teraelectron volts per beam. It's already broken the records of the past several years, and they're really just getting started. The more energy they get, guys, the more of the things they like they get. They like to get the luminosity, they like to get the particle acceleration into these collisions to where they get to do whatever they do. You know, some people talk about a portal opening, other people talking about protecting the shields. I've seen it really do devastating effects to the Earth's magnetic shields. Guys, and you can see the points in those pulses where these beams were matching. Again, you got your windage and elevation. Here's your elevation. Excuse me, here's your windage. Here's your elevation in both beams. Beam 1 in the blue, beam 2 in the red. But here, you can see the identical markers. See this? Almost identical as they were getting closer. And when they get close together, and that's what they're trying to do, adjust the magnetics in this tunnel, 17 miles long, to get this beam down to where it collides head on with this one. That's when they reach the most power they can get. And they've been getting pretty close today. The more they do that, guys, the more damage to our shields. I don't know if that's an unintended side effect that they did not know was going to happen when it first started, because they have never admitted it, but we've visually seen it for several years on the magnetosphere models that they happened to take down a couple of years ago. And I've mentioned this before. You're looking at the cryogenics. Each one of these sections are sectioned in the tubes, in these big tunnels, and they have to keep them below 2 degrees Kelvin, the temperature of outer space. And usually when you see a breakup in the loop there and in the injections, you'll see one red section pop up in here, and they have to shut it down. And each one has a different color. All of these combined together is what's giving you what appears to be a red line, but it's very multicolored. This is the first year that I haven't seen it go red every time they do some type of drop. We talked about a new coating they had inside some of the plates. Can't technically go into it. I don't know the details on it. I read the article, though. They had taken off this last winter, recoated some of the plates to keep them from getting so hot. And that allowed longer burst of energy at higher energies. It also, because of that plating, they were getting was calling these, it was like a cloud in there. When these protons collide together, there's a lot of debris and noise in it. And these plates help to dampen that cloud down to where they got a clear vision of what they were actually looking for. But guys, we're working on a lot of different things. I mentioned in the video last night about the island of Elephantine in the middle of the Nile River. And that thing has some very interesting aspects. And they found, again, a while back, the earliest known written texts by the Hebrew people. They called them, some call them the Jewish people. At that time, they were called the Yahwists. But it's the oldest writings that they found, older than the Dead Sea Scrolls. And what's more important about what they tell us about a group of Yahwists or Jews that was, they had their own temple fort on the island. And this is up away from the pyramids, you know, and up near it was kind of where the Upper Nile and the Lower Nile split. It was a fort there. Not only what you had the Egyptians there, but you had, again, a couple of different groups. And it looks like from the records that the Yahwists that were there were mercenaries. In other words, they possibly had left Israel because of waves of Roman persecution coming through. And but I don't know if they were allowed to settle there because of that, or at that point they were in friendly terms with the Egyptians. But they set up a garrison like a mercenary, kind of just the same we had some after Iraq. But anyway, they had garrisons there, and they found the writings. And again, what's more important than what they say, which is interesting, is what they don't say. And that's what the video will be about when I get it finished. Working on a couple of different things, guys. But we're watching this. You watch it. You guys in Texas watch for that heat building up. It may add a degree or two to it with the energy we're seeing pouring onto the planet now. Now, again, we're looking at this in real time. You can see the clock ticking here. This is universal time. It is 1:44 here in central Mississippi. It would be 2:44 on the east side. But guys, you can see right here, they're starting to kick the power back up, and you can see the red beam or beam 2 starting to rise. When you get all of them together, and that black line gets up there with them, that black line indicates the energy of these two beams combined, then that's where they start getting the power they want. And again, you can see they're getting already higher this early in the year with these new experimental plates than anything we've seen before. Where it will all end up, we don't know. But again, we're watching it, guys. You watch it. It's a heads up. Be safe.